and most vulnerable among us. Already, the federal government is working closely with states and local governments to implement interventions that will cushion the pains of our people across socio-economic brackets. I had promised to reform the economy for the long-term good by fighting major imbalances that has plagued our economy. Ending the subsidy and the preferential exchange rate system were key to this fight. This fight is to define the fate and future of our nation. Much is imbalance. Thus, the effect in our economy immensely profited a tiny elite, the elite of the elite, you might call them. As we move to fight the flaws in the economy, the people who grow rich from them predictably will fight back through every means necessary. But we are ready. Our economy is going through a tough patch, and you are being hurt by it, I know. The cost of fuel has gone up. Food and other prices have followed it. Households and businesses are struggling. Things seem anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there is not. If there were, I would have taken that route, as I came here to help, not to hurt the people and the nation that I love so dearly. What I can offer in the immediate is to reduce the burden of current economic situation, which has imposed on all of us, most especially on businesses, the working class, and most vulnerable among us. Already, the federal government is working closely with states and local governments to implement interventions that will cushion the pains of our people across socio-economic brackets.
this morning, as we promised you, that we'll be taking you through our discussion segment when we're back from that break. And what we have before us this morning is ICT, how important it is to business startups and assessment of it. How far has it been doing, the pros and the cons and all that. Well, to discuss that with us this morning is Mr. Tosin Abioye, a solution architect and an ICT expert. It's nice to have you join us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and looking at it, everywhere, every sector in this today's world, is driven by ICT. We have ICT in almost everything that we do. There is application of information, communication technology in what we do, and which is to ease life and make it better for the people. Can you expatiate on the advantages, that the society tends to derive from this?
Yeah, thank you very much. So the technology generally is to advance humankind, right? There used to be a time that to break rocks we would use hammer and all that. Then caterpillar and those heavy equipment came, which is a phase of technology. But now we're in the age of information technology, where coding drives stuff. Our banking is based on technology. The way we run our lives is based on technology. Even doctors perform surgery based on technologies these days. So I would say it's already part of our life. We cannot escape it. And for us to develop as a state, as a country, we need to develop technology, and we need to really, really have a strategy for bringing technology into everything we do. So there is a country I was reading recently that they have minister for AI, right? Minister for Artificial Intelligence. I said that's kind of forward thinking, right? Because they are looking at where the world is now, where the world is going, and they are trying to prepare for it. So that's what ICT is in our world.
All right. Talking about AI now, we're still going to delve on that. I mean, into details. Well, now looking at it, technology was supposed to make life easier for man, but now when AIs and all that are taking over man's job or responsibilities, isn't it working against what it's supposed to be, like making man redundant?
Yes, in a way, but it's not always bad. That's the negative side of it. But like the example I've made about breaking rocks and all, in those days too, the men were like, caterpillar is taking our job, right? But today, even people will not want to go and break rocks because you have better things to do with your time. So we adapt as a species, right? So we have something that is coming, we adapt to that change, and we begin to do something there. So AI is going to complement us. It cannot replace us. There are things that computers cannot do. No matter how hard we try, we still need humans to do them. And there's no fear that, for me, I don't see a fear that AI will replace us. It will take some redundant jobs, and then we'll move to jobs that require more of our skill and more of our brain and more of our strategy.
Okay, but it feels to me that yes, men are going to be the ones driving even this information technology and this new improvements. But we may be having more men redundant. For instance, I read about a company that sacked all its workers, and was running on robotics.
Yeah, but if you really look through it, which department did they sack? All right, so maybe they fired customer service department, people that are chatting and taking phone calls, right? Because there are things that can do that now. But then they are still going to need people to analyze the result, to make decision, to act on things. So it is not always bad news to have technology. Like for me, I'm more in the enterprise space. Like I implement solutions for companies, and I know that there is no way technology will replace people in those companies, because those technologies to help them do their job, it cannot replace them.
Now, if technology is aiding job effectiveness and efficiency, how well then is Nigeria taking advantage of that platform, especially in the face of power problem, which you agree with me powers technology too.
Yes,
So,
yes.
how well are we taking advantage of that plane?
Yes, sadly, I'll say we are not doing enough. It seems our society does not have a strategy. Our leaders don't have a technology strategy. It's making us lag behind. Nigeria, we have the human capital. We have a lot of people here. That's supposed to be an asset, right? If we build our people, look at India. They train their people. They ship them out to United States, to Canada. They are experts like everywhere. They make money. They send money back home. It's the money they earn from remittance is a lot. And why can't Nigeria do the same? We have the people here. We have the universities. So it's something that we need. That's one of my thinking. So when I built my solution, I launched it first in Nigeria. I have a product called Rapisoft. It's an enterprise system for construction industry. I launched it first in Nigeria. I wanted that whatever I build, Nigerians should be able to use it, because the software that we buy here for running our businesses sometimes is beyond the reach of regular businesses. You need to pay $20,000 a year for a license. How many Nigerian businesses can afford that? So I wanted to build something and make it available to Nigeria that they can pay in Naira and that will not kill their businesses, and in a way that will help small people to also be able to do what the big guys are doing. Because I realize that in America, what do they have that we don't have? They have people, we have people. What they have is process and systems, right? So we have process in Nigeria too, but we don't have systems to make them work. So if we can begin to build systems around our processes, then we gradually begin to catch up.
Okay.
Now, if you're catching up, I'm interested in your assertion that we lack strategy, or properly put in your words, our leaders lack technology strategies. But you look at it, at the state level, you have the Ministry of Education, Science, and Technology in many states. There's many states. At the federal level, you also have Minister of Science and Technology. So, how well, what then is the essence of having those people in place when you claim we don't have technological strategies?
So you look at our strategy to really be a strategy that works needs to be all inclusive. Now let's take, you talked about education and all. Let's look at our universities. You go to Nigerian university to study computer science. What do you really study? They're going to be teaching you a language that does not exist anymore. They're going to be teaching you. You are not even going to do a practical project that really delivers a live product. Look at Facebook and all these guys that they say they drop out of university because their college project took off, right? How many Nigerians drop out of university because their school project took off? Because you are not really doing a project that is practical, that applies to life. Somebody will just teach you a book, you read it and you pass it, which anybody can do, or most people can do. Let's not just say anybody. So our strategy should be like all inclusive. We begin to think about catching people young, put them in the direct way, look at guidance and counselors that would channel people's energy the proper way and improve the syllabus. I bet you, I graduated in 2000 as a quantity surveyor. Now, I tell you, anybody is still doing quantity surveying is probably using the same syllabus that they used to teach me. And I probably used the same one that my HOD used in 60s or 70s. We don't revise things. When I got to America, my first class in California was decision support system. I got into the class, they were introducing us to the software, we were logging on, they were creating it, and they started like how to manage, the software was like how to determine how many cashiers to have at a checkout point. Like these things, they teach you things that applies to real life. So you are solving problem. Every course you take is a real life problem you are solving. By the time you graduate, you already know how to look for problems that you want to solve. That way you raise people with entrepreneurial mind, not just job seekers.
So how do you think the Nigerian system can actually do this?
Yeah, it has to be driven by everybody. So the government has a part to do to create the environment, to give us the policies that will drive it. But at the same time, the community also need to do their parts, right? Everything cannot depend on the government. Businesses need to begin to partner with research institutions, partner with professors. Like yesterday, someone was asking about like, why do Nigerians go into Yahoo thing? We know they are using internet for bad things. I'm like, okay, is there a place where we are teaching them how to use internet for good things? Because we don't ask, I've not read any paper by any professor in Nigeria that have analyzed and told us why Nigerians go into Yahoo business. These guys are smart, they have the brain to do this, so it's just a matter of channeling, right? The same brain that you used to have to steal money, you can use that to produce something that you will sell. It's just a matter of channeling, but it is a lot to put together, but if all begins to work together, I think we can get there. It may take time, but we just need to start from somewhere.
Are we starting at all?
I think I'm optimistic. I believe in Nigeria. I think with the present administration, yes, things got rough because they have to make some tough decisions, but if they channel whatever they save in all this, properly, I think we can start from somewhere.
Don't you think that where to start from would be to tinker with education curriculum and science and technology
Absolutely,
input?
absolutely, sir. I do agree with you. I'm somebody that think that we need to revamp completely how we train people. We need to stop producing job seekers. We need to start producing job creators. You have a million graduates every year, and you have trained them to be job seeker, and there is no job out there. What do you expect them to do? You have
Because
trained
they
them to be
seek.
You have trained them to be smart. You have trained them to be brilliant. You have trained them to know how to go get something. Now they got out. That thing is not there. So they're going to have to look for something else to get. And then what can they get? You know the answer.
All right, but in doing this implementation and all that, it requires a lot of money. Just this morning we read about, the president is proposing to take Nigeria out of poverty and all that. Do you then think that they could bear, or the government could bear the cost, of bringing or implementing ICTs and all that?
Absolutely. Nigeria is a very rich country. There are countries that are poorer than us that are doing these things. We just need to put our resources in the right way. When we think about infrastructure, we need to think about, look at, American president signed a bill last year for, that one of the major part of that bill was to expand broadband access to local areas, right? Why can't that be our strategy too? So that it's not that Nigeria does not have money. It's just that we are not really channeling it in the way that can really help the economy. And I think the more we raise entrepreneurs that create solutions, that create jobs, we will begin to also support the government to solve the problem.
A solution expert, and so I'm interested in knowing what's your perspective. You just talked about Nigeria being a very rich country, and I just giggled in my mind that, oh, really? The president did say that Nigeria has no business with poverty, and I'm skeptical when I read such things, because I was asking my colleague this morning, so where is the wealth? I did make an allusion to you staying right in the middle of an ocean. You can still be thirsty if you're not scooping water to drink. What exactly, therefore, can we say is the problem of Nigeria, that it's still wallowing not in poverty but abject penury in certain quarters, not certain quarters, in many quarters? And yet we all say yes, Nigeria has no business with poverty. In fact, someone did say many years ago, a head of state, that the problem of Nigeria is not money but how to spend it. So where then lies our problem? Ingenuity or what?
So part of our problem was like what you just mentioned, that the president said our problem was not money but how to spend it. How can you be a head of state and you have money, you don't have a strategy of where to invest it? That's where our problem started from. Like we began to see free money. You just dig the ground, oil comes out, it turns to dollars, and then people just started looting and spending as if it will not finish. Fine, it will not finish, but then we have
Oh, nice, that's
destroyed. We have destroyed productivity. We have destroyed brilliance. We have destroyed development because money was just coming freely. Back in the days where each region have to produce their things to sell, that was productivity, right? The farming was booming, other things were going on. Like Nigerians travel abroad then to study. They graduate, they are rushing back home because they can't stand the code where they're like, I will go to get the same thing in Nigeria. Why do I need to add code to my problem, right? But now, if you go out, you are praying that the plane will not take off to bring you back here because you don't know what you are coming back to. So our problem is we all know that it's going to take time, but the government just needs to begin to put strategy around this thing, develop the private sector, solve power problem. Our power problem, honestly, I don't know why it cannot be solved, because I was telling somebody, why can't we just scale up instead of trickle down, right? We have big NEPA, then we broke it into little segments. Back in the day when Governor Bola Tinubu was governor of Lagos State, he was trying to generate Lagos power for Lagos State. So why can't we do that? Why can't we start from local? And then everybody can service their own local government, local state, and then we scale up and solve this problem. There are things we can do. It's a Nigerian problem. We can create Nigerian solution.
It goes to say that it's an hydra-headed problem, as it were, that we're facing. If we're having a problem with our curriculum of education, and it also seems that our federalism is just horse.
Well, I'm not a political science person, so I can't really speak into how the
Of course, we've
government.
talked about devolution of power in one sense, because if states are not really empowered to do certain things so that we cannot scale up, then we will continue to wallow in this problem.
That's one way of doing it. But the perspective I was coming from was like I look at my house. How do I get 24 hours electricity? I do my inverter, I get solar, and then my estate runs generator at night. So we, in a way, our community as an estate, we have solved our problem because we have a generator and then we can have 24 hours electricity. Okay, if an estate can do that, why can't a town get a license to generate their own? Why can't a local government get a license? That's the way. That's what I mean by scaling up. That we can think about a Nigerian solution to this thing. That before you know it, there will be 100 local governments, 200 local governments. That's have this thing is solved.
All right, as good as the ICT is, is getting people work remotely and all that. But then there's this issue of cybersecurity. Doesn't that pose a lot of threat to businesses, especially SMEs, where somebody could just copy a data or put a virus and something and everything?
That's true. We should note that every good thing also has a bad side. It's a matter of what you develop, and you also have to plan for the risk and plan mitigation strategies, right?
Okay.
I work remotely. I'm here in Akure now. By 1 o'clock, I'm going to log on to US and continue my work. I'm not losing anything. Why is that possible? Because there is internet in Akure. Okay. So ICT is here, so I'm not going to lose any hour of my work. So it's the same. It's the same thing. You just have to. The company I work for gave me a laptop that is secure, so it doesn't matter where I log in from. You cannot hack it, right? So you just have to invest in the technology. So if you are going to expose your people to work remotely, then you also have to plan for, okay, what if somebody wants to intercept my data? Then you plan for that. It's just that sometimes it's one way. We just say this thing is good. We just get the good thing. You don't plan to, okay, what if something goes wrong, and plan mitigation strategies. I think if we look at it holistically, we can use technology, we can adopt technology and do good. So I continue to create solutions for companies, for enterprises, because I believe that is one way that we can at least begin to catch up with the rest of the world. What they have in the West that we don't have, those data they're able to use, there's a ton of data in Nigeria. I was asking somebody, why don't we have credit bureau in Nigeria? Why can't banks loan credits? Why can't people have credit cards? Because the banks don't know whether you are going to pay or not. And why don't they know? There's no credit history. There's no way to know the credit score. How is it difficult to just get information from Nigeria?
Tracking is difficult.
Yeah, but it's not. It's just statistics.
Because there's no data management.
Yes. How is that hard? For God's sake, everybody's data, but we have NIM, we have BVN, we have all these things.
Do we really need all this multiplicity of data?
We don't need it, but even now we have it. Why can't we take advantage of it? Why can't we? I mean, in America, you be in your house, a bank will mail a check to you. It's up to you to cash it or not. Because they see your credit history, you have this credit card, you have not been taking money from it, they will make check to you because they need you to take the money. They need you to spend it so that they can make interest from you. But here, you want to do something, you are really begging. They will ask you to bring the head of your grandfather as collateral. So it's kind of difficult to do things in Nigeria. And it's small problems like that we can solve, really. Simple data. You are 18 years old, you are born in so and so place, and you borrow this money, you paid back, you get 1 point. You borrow this money, you pay back, you get 2 points. Bank will begin to say, okay, this guy is always borrowing and paying back. Let's I mean, we can build these things. Why is it hard?
All right. Let's bring it down a little to the cyberspace. There's a lot of anonymity there, and criminal elements, unscrupulous people are taking advantage of the anonymity to perpetrate evil, especially the social media space. People bully others, blackmail others, and all that through the medium of anonymity. How can this be checked? And don't you think it is corroding our cultural values and all that? Because you have teenagers, underage people, providing adult content on these platforms.
Yes, absolutely, it's a major problem. The world has not found a solution to that. Really, it's not only in Nigeria; it's a global problem, and countries are trying to catch up because I think the world of internet, sped so fast that we are playing catch up. right? It did not just like organic thing that as we are growing as human, internet was growing with us. It came and it was running, and then we're like, oh, this thing is there, let's catch up. So everybody is trying to catch up. It's just that Nigeria is a little bit slow at catching up. Some countries are implementing tools to block things, to prevent things, and they have laws to arrest people doing stuff, and they actually punish them and make it public so that you know if you do this, this is what happens.
Deterrence.
So yes. So I think that's the part that we need. We can't kill internet; it's here to stay. We can't kill social media; it's here to stay. We just have to find out to adapt our rules and also how to educate people and also provide good content. Because now we're in the information age. People will consume content. So if we don't give them good content, they will consume bad content.
All right, thank you very much for the insights that you've provided, into the ICT world. And as you said, definitely it's not going to wait for us. It is left for us to keep catching up with it. And to address the unemployment issue in Nigeria, for instance, how do you think more youth in Nigeria, can use the ICT medium, to get themselves meaningfully engaged?
I think like we already spoke about part of the education part, but apart from the university or what they teach you in classroom, people need to learn to read stuff because there's virtually nothing you cannot learn on the internet. Now, when I was like, there's some part of my business, like people to create content, do advertisement and stuff. Like I search on like some global sites where you can get freelancers, people do stuff for you, $20, $30, $50 kind of work, and then I deliberately search and I add Nigeria as a location, but Nigerians will not come up. Are people like, why can't you just look at those places and just you don't need degree. You are creating a content. Describe yourself very well so that people will know you are able to do this thing. Then somebody gives you a $50 job, a $100 job. I mean, some guys, that's what they do. They make $1,000 every month. It's okay. They live well. Most of the people that did my jobs, they are like, in Pakistan, in Ukraine. I search. I always put plus Nigeria in my search, but many times nothing comes up. So we need to educate our people about platforms, things that are out there that they can take advantage of, that can bless them, and support.
How well then do young people also take correct advantage of technology, of ICT in enhancing their startups and being self-reliant, not just looking for white-collar jobs that are no longer even white?
Well, I think gradually we are coming up. The other time I attended an expo in Lagos, a startup expo. I visited many booths and I saw like young Nigerian, trying to do stuff, like a lot of them, in fintech and all. In terms of fintech, Nigeria is really catching up. Like, yesterday I was reading a blog of Flutterwave hiring 170 graduates. I mean, that's good. Like, if you have a million companies hiring 170 graduates every year, that's 170 million people. It will virtually end unemployment. Right. So we need to build things like that. I think our people are coming up, although the environment is harsh. It's difficult. But when I left US to come and do my startup in Nigeria, and then I was like, okay, let me talk to VCs, let me raise funds. When I realized that I was doing more work trying to raise the fund than actually doing I just forgot about them. Like, I wanted to raise funds because startups raise funds. It's not that at least I had money to build my thing. So I'm wasting my time with this. Let me go and continue to build my stuff. Now I've delivered an enterprise solution on my own with my team. So, but I can do that because I can afford it. Like, how many people who have good ideas can do that? So there is no, the environment to support is not there. So all these states that have Ministry of Science and Technology, they should vote funds and have people who can vet, startups, and there's no reason why Ondo State cannot produce maybe 1,000 startup every year. Maybe Ekiti State does 1,000 startup every year. And then you begin to see that every job is not in Lagos.
What's the place of interstate and international collaboration in getting this thing work?
See, the people all over the world are looking for opportunities. If you create an impression that there's opportunity in your place, they will come. Look at Dubai. Like, people leave the West to go and perform their surgery in Dubai because they have shown the world that you can come for medical tourism. It is cheaper with your plane ticket and everything. You can still get your surgery cheaper, and you get the same quality. How did they do that? They build the infrastructure and they let people know that it is here. So if we build infrastructure and we make good noise about our country, not bad noise, and people think everywhere is war. This, I was coming like 2 weeks ago when I was coming on my flight to Amsterdam. The lady sitting next to me was like, "Where's your next flight?" I said, "Lagos." He was like, I said, "Nigeria." He said, "War." I said, "No, it's my country. There is no war." Well, forever she hears our news, she thinks there is war in Nigeria. So we need to let people know that this is a good place. There is peace. There is a good environment, and let them bring their money.
And it doesn't also look like even the West has it all rosy. That's what brings the issue of information flow and its management. Because the West has a way of pushing out the good, retaining the bad there, that we're managing it. Now, how well can then, because all of these things also has a lot, also have a lot to do with advantageous use of ICT and technology. How do we block the flow of bad information, as it were, about the efforts and exploits of a nation called Nigeria?
It's difficult to block because we're a free society,
Very
right?
well.
So it's difficult to block, but we need to have our own technology that promotes the good stuff. So if you do a search online, if you do an online search, whose algorithm is running, right? So the people whose algorithm are running, what's their bias towards you? So you are writing a code, right? This thing is not done by ghosts, it's done by people. You are writing a code, you have biases. So what's the bias? If you search Nigeria, what's the bias towards Nigeria? That's what the program is going to generate, and the kind of news that will come. And because it is bad news that sells, that will get more click, and is revenue driven. The more click, the more money.
Yes.
So they are going to promote bad news. But if we have our own technology, if we have our own search engine that is homegrown, that is also powerful and known, that every time people search stuff about Africa, we have a way to jump ahead. And then maybe we can begin to provide better content. I don't know, I'm just saying maybe. But those are the kind of things I see that we can take advantage of.
All right, thank you very much. It's been an interesting engagement with Mr. Tosin Abioye, and I bet Sunday we could take him on and on even throughout the program. But we've got to let him go at this junction. Thank you very much once again for coming. And as you said, if we build the infrastructure and make good noise about the country, then we could attract better things to read. Well, we have to let you go at this junction. All right, Abioye, we're going to take a short break now, and when we are back, yes, something that interests you, you want to know how far about, you want to know how it's been done and all that. Stick around. We'll be back to talk about palliatives. Don't go away.
Is it okay?